And Natty, I guess you're the youngster, huh? 10 years in teaching management. She's interested in young learners, professional development, and attending conferences. And she's a blogger at myeltbrewery.wordpress.com.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
It's not like I like beer or anything.
Okay. Is it a beer brewery?
It's an ELT brewery.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Much better than those boring cafes, right? Well, I really appreciate you being here, and you know how to control the slides, right?
Yeah.
Right-hand corner. So you've got 10 minutes, and I'll let you take it away.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I've had so many tech issues just now that I think I might have lost some weight. So a win-win situation, I guess. But bear with me. Here's Tita Barbie, who of course looks nothing like me, and her student is just perfect. It seems as if she's raising her hand, and she looks like a really well-behaved learner, which looks nothing like my classrooms at all, and doesn't look like the classes I've observed either. But I've chosen Teacher Barbie because I thought that perhaps some of you may look a bit like her at the beginning of term. So I've decided to take you through a journey of what may happen during your first day of class till the very last day of term. And well, let's get started. So you arrive at school, hopefully wearing a nicer t-shirt than this one. And the first thing you do on your very first day of class is you go into the staff room. Now, the staff room is a wonderful place. I've met some amazing people at the staff room, and I've shared so many ideas. I've done so many amazing things with my colleagues. But I think we may all agree that it can also be a rather toxic place, especially when it comes to making certain comments about students. Of course, we're all tired sometimes and we need to make certain comments, and I'm absolutely fine with that. But on the very first day of term, that can be very harmful because people, after a whole year of certain students, may come to you and say things like, oh my God, what did you get? Oh, grade 3B. Oh, you're going to have little Tommy. Little Tommy's a meanest. He's the worst student you can have. I don't know if this happened to you, but it certainly happened to me. And he's really naughty. He never pays attention. He never does his homework, blah, 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 blah. And people may tell you, oh, you will have little Sissy. She's adorable. And the first thing is, how do we react to that kind of comment? And I think what we have to do, perhaps, is ask, what did they do? After years of research into labeling and this type of behavior, I've come to a conclusion that rather than labeling people and say, oh, he's disrespectful, X and Y, we need to ask people, what happened last year? Could you tell me the facts? But we also must remember that whenever we start, it's a fresh start. And children change. They change a lot. 1 year in the life of a little child can be a lot. So we have to step into that class as if it's a fresh start for them. It's a whole new opportunity. And I think that under no circumstances shall we mention any of this information that's been passed on to us in front of the children. Like, oh, little Sissy, I've heard you're really good at reading aloud. Would you like to read this? I think we should avoid that as much as possible because it can be really harmful. We should show them that we're really keen to get to know our learners. So talk to your class, to your colleagues, but do not use the staff room as a place to label your students and say, this kid is horrible. Don't. Because labels can do a lot of harm. Our students are being labeled all the time. They're being labeled at home. They're being labeled by their classmates. And very often, a lot of students pick up on the labels we make. And we may find out that other kids aren't treating certain kids well because of the labels we've decided to give them. This is based on EFLtalks, but it's also based on humankind. In a Forbes article I've read, it mentions that no one wants to have a conversation with someone that's already made an impression of you and thinks that knows everything about you. So I think that's something to avoid. And if possible, we should take students out of those roles. If everyone thinks that they suck at reading aloud, well, get them the chance to do that. Moving on. Very often, we find that students are misbehaving in the young learner classroom because there's a lot of dead time. Sometimes I step into a class and a teacher loses 20 minutes trying to get the tech to work. And I mean, these things happen. I've just wasted a lot of minutes trying to get this talk to work. But it's very important to take into consideration that when little children have literally nothing to do, they get bored and they start bothering other people. So it's our responsibility to wonder, is it that they're really misbehaving? Or is it that I haven't given them a clear task and I haven't kept them busy? Because busy children tend to work a lot better. So I think that when we plan our lessons, we should think, what are the children going to be doing? Rather than, what am I going to say? Am I going to be speaking all the time? No. What are the children going to be doing? How are they going to interact with the materials? How many minutes will they be on task? Whenever we plan, we need to think more about them than us. And I think many new teachers or even experienced teachers, when they're really busy, we think about what we're going to do. But the question is what we're going to do to keep them busy and interacting with the language. And very often, less is more. If you know that there's a game that works really well with your students, well, exploit it to the most. There's no point in bringing 1,000 materials. If you're going to do nothing with them, the kids are going to get distracted. They're going to be misbehaving. They're going to grab the materials and go crazy. Go step by step. Exploit the materials that you always use. Children love revisiting the same materials again. Think about little kids and storytelling. How many times do children ask their parents to read the same story again? And you can add other teaching points, but you can definitely reuse the same story, reuse the same games. And if they're used to it, they know exactly what they have to do. There's no dead time and you keep them busy. And also, your life becomes a lot easier because you plan less and you focus more on them inside the classroom. If you spend hours planning your lessons, you're going to be knackered. So less is more. And this is something I genuinely believe in when it comes to teaching in general, but especially children. There's no point in spending hours on Pinterest if it's not going to work in the class. But again, back to a staff room, you may find that people are going to share with you lesson plans, and some lesson plans will be great, but there may be lesson plans that you don't feel well with. Well, if you don't like that lesson plan, this happened to me. I remember I tried to teach second conditional with a song by Beyonce called If I Were a Boy. All my teenagers were laughing from the start till the end because I don't like that song. And I think they somehow sensed it and the lesson made no point. However, my colleague who taught that very same lesson, it was brilliant for her because she felt it. She shared the passion. So if you really feel that there's something you don't believe in, well, there's no point in teaching it. Try it the way you would do it. And another very important point that we must bear in mind when we're teaching in a new year, when we decide to look into the curriculum, we must bear in mind that the syllabus is the content we need to teach, but it's also what's not mentioned. The things which are not in the curriculum, they are also part of what we decide to teach, because for some reason, we've left some things aside. And I think that all teachers must remember that equality matters. You may have a kid who is disabled. Perhaps in the book and in the curriculum, there's nothing on this point. But I think in those cases, you've got the responsibility to add this to the curriculum. And you can bring it along with very simple stories, with very simple lessons. For example, say you're talking about your classroom. Stop for a second and say to your students, after they describe their classrooms, how can we make this classroom more accessible? That's a way of incorporating inequality issues, which are very important, because we're not just teaching English language, we're teaching children. Rob? Okay, it's time. Sorry. So my point is, bear these things in mind, and hopefully you'll make it to the end of term well.